Hey guys, so today we're going to be looking at match in Python, which is basically like another way of deciding what should happen in a particular case instead of using so many ifs and elses. So here we go. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the Python match statement, and we're basically going to be referring to W3 schools. So the match statement is basically used like instead of writing many if and else statements, you can use the match statement. So it's basically used to like perform different actions based on different conditions. So basically like the if and else statement, but instead of using so many of those, you could just use one. And then so here, basically how it works is that the match expression is evaluated once, and then the value of that expression is compared with the values of each case. And if there's a match, then that specific block is executed. So here we have example over here which like uses the weekday number to print the weekday name. So here we are just going to run this. So here you can say that this is match and then there's case. So then if we give day the value 4, then basically looks for the day for case 4 and prints Thursday. So the same thing you could write that like if day is equal to 4, then print Thursday. And so then you'd have to have like if day is equal to 1, print Monday, elif if it's equal to 2, print Tuesday, elif 3, and so on. And then you can either write an elif or else in the last statement. But instead of doing that so many times, it's much easier if you just use a match in case. So whatever the case is, if it matches, then it prints that. So if we say like case 6, then it prints Saturday. Now if we go out of the entire thing, so if we say 10, then it prints absolutely nothing. So because there is no day 10. And so then there's also like the underscore character, which is basically like if you want a code block to execute when there's no other matches. So that's basically like the else that we say. So if we say that like here, case, yeah. So if we say case and then underscore colon, and then if we say print and print like 3 dots like that, and now if you print it, then it's just printing the 3 dots because, well, 10 is not a valid value, or a valid value. So then it's basically like the else in an if and else statement, that if this happens, else if this happens, but then if it's none of those, then just say else. So this value will always match. So it's always important to put it as a last case to make it behave as a last case. So you can't put this like in the first one and then like later on. So because this one will always match. So what I'm trying to say is that if we move it up here, and if I say like put it over here, and now if we just need to put a value bigger than like 3, okay, say 3. So you can see already it's throwing like an error over here. It's not gonna let it run because the pattern makes remaining case clauses unreachable. So then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is all going to be unreachable. So for 1 it'll work, but then like if I say 3, now it's probably going to throw an error, but yeah. Because this makes all of the rest unreachable. So that means to make it behave as the last one, you need to place it in the last place. Then there's also like the pipe character. So you can basically use it as an operator in the case evaluation to check for more than one value match in one case. So if we, for example, like, okay, I'm just gonna do Control Z over here. And if we say that if it's 1, and then if we use this character and say 2 instead, and now if we take this away, and if we say that if it's 1 or 2, then both should print Monday. So if now we run it and print 1, then you see it's Monday. Now if we put 2 here and run it, it still says Monday. So you can basically use this like as 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So as you would say, like if this happens or this happens in one statement, then you can do that. So that's basically the case statement, and it's used like as an easier replacement of if and else condition.